Allow me, dear audience, to start my speech with a story, a sad but very significant one that invites us to reflect on our fate in the digital universe in which we have been immersed for at least a decade and in which we have wasted most of our precious time. His name is Saeed, an incredibly smart young boy, full of life and hope. Some even referred to him as a genius, as he always came first in his class. His family, who struggles financially, were incredibly proud of him and were convinced he would go far in his studies. They extensively relied on his intelligence and seriousness to be successful in a promising career and to one day save them from the misery in which they have lived for such a long time, especially after the serious accident that paralyzed his father. One day, his school rewarded him for his hard work by offering him the latest iPad model with a free subscription that will last him a year in hopes that he will use it to enrich his knowledge and to work better. As you know, a tablet, especially for the less fortunate, is a double-edged sword. It can be beneficial and used to better our knowledge, if used reasonably, or it can be a total waste of time if used poorly. It's hard for me to tell you that, unfortunately, this is the case of our beloved Saeed, who logged on to video game sites instead of taking advantage of this new technology to develop his intelligence. Day after day, with each passing hour, every minute of his day was spent on video games. Win after win, he was never conscious of the time he spent. His studies were no longer a priority to him. He only gave them a very short time, accompanied with very minimal effort, which was quickly shown through his catastrophic results. He barely passed his junior year. Fast forward a few months, came his senior year, which was even worse than the year preceding that. Dare I say terrible and catastrophic. Saeed lost a lot of weight, slept very little, ate exceptionally poor, and spent every minute, every night glued to his screen like a drug addict. Exams came up, which without a shock, Saeed failed. Yes, the genius failed. Unbelievable. All the hopes of his family completely evaporated. Goodbye, promising career. Goodbye, hopes of saving his family from the misery. Goodbye, Saeed. Saeed became unrecognizable, a sort of gambling addict. Let me tell you all, this story is mine. It's yours too. It's the story of most teenagers around the world today, which is why it should be given the importance it deserves. Indeed, this story happens to numerous people who unfortunately do not know how to manage their time in the best possible ways, especially in modern society, which has been completely invaded by social networks, video games, Netflix, etc., which prevents humans from taking advantage of their time in a useful way. With distractions growing in number, we are witnessing more and more problems related mainly to poor time management. Young students and teenagers waste most of their times, which has harmful consequences that could ruin their lives, make them unhappy, or even say, God forbid. Cyber addiction specialists are sounding their alarms. They're drawing the attention of parents and managers to the danger of these new technologies and how they mercilessly devour our society's young children's precious time. This waste of time, an alarming phenomenon, according to specialists, deserves everyone's attention to find a solution and help young people live their lives naturally. In short, to manage their time effectively. And I, who speak to you today, like most people who are listening to me, admit that despite all my effort, the seriousness that characterizes me, and the precious efforts and advice my parents give me daily, I still suffer from poor time management. Late at night, in my bed, I stare in the dark. I wonder, is there a magic recipe that could help us, especially young people, manage our time effectively? Is there a secret that we are not aware of? I ask you this question. Is it possible in our world that is invaded by new technologies, dominated by social networks, to manage our time well and make sure to ensure a happy life? This problem affects us all, and we must examine it deeply to find a solution by asking help from all those who can lead us to the right solutions. Psychiatrists, psychologists, professional educators, or even medical specialists in cyber addiction. You know, we often hear in our schools, don't waste your time, use your time effectively, but how? Please tell me how this problem is making me insane. I admit, I was never really shown how. Is it logical to constantly engrave in the mind of a student that time is treasure and yet show no way on how to appreciate it, how to take care of it, and how to use it effectively? I tell you all today that it is urgent we take matters into our own hands, that we find research, organize meetings, and train ourselves to manage our time well. If you guys don't agree with me and are in denial, I invite you all to perform a self-assessment to see where you are in terms of time management. All you need to do is make 2 columns. On the left side, write about the pros of the time management. On the left side, write about the cons. Then it will be clear where you stand in terms of your time management. But the best thing you can do is to free yourself from these electronics. Whether they be smartphones, iPads, computers, or even the TV that is standing in your living room, urging you, tempting you to use it. This last point is extremely beneficial, yet very challenging, I admit, to put into practice. I'm not saying completely deprive yourself. No. What I'm telling you is don't be slaves to these machines. Don't let them destroy you. And on the contrary, you should dominate them and never let them dominate you. Time is an inestimable treasure. This is undeniable. It has no price and you can never get it back, no matter what it is you do. Which is why we should know that our success and our happiness largely rely on it. Yes, it depends on how we manage our time and how we use it and how we benefit from it. I say enough is enough. We must be convinced that it's time to change and repeat loudly. It's time to free ourselves from the domination of social media. It's time to stop wasting our time. It's time to stop wasting our treasures. It's time to wake up and live naturally, not virtually. It's time to change. And it is possible to change. Hand in hand, in our real world, we can change for the better. Just think that change is possible. Just believe that you can change and that we can break the chains. Just believe that when there is will, there is a way. Let's make our way. Let's manage our time well for a peaceful and successful life. Thank you and take care.